We are back for, I guess, the second annual postseason edition of the Rice Football Blue and Gray preview show. I'm your host, Matthew Bartlett, joined as always, JP Heath, Rice Owls voice of the Owls, both, either or. I guess it's interchangeable.
It's
Easy
a lot
enough
of
for me to
voices
say.
there.
Yeah, talking with the words. I'm hearing myself, hearing everybody. We're here to talk postseason Rice football. We're here to preview a all Texas bowl showdown with the Texas State Bobcats, their first ever bowl game, which is fun. And Rice's 14th bowl game, the first time that these two teams have played in 35, 37, what was the something like that, 40 years. It's been a minute since they were called Texas State. You excited, JP?
Yeah, very excited. It's a busier than normal portion of the slate. Merry Christmas, brother, by the way. Good to see you again in this setting.
Absolutely.
But yeah, very excited.
Yeah, side note, it is also signing day. So
by the way,
interrupting your previously scheduled programming, plug, go on over to the Roost. We'll have your signing day coverage there after we get back from talking some bowl prep. We, rather than trust us to yammer on about the Bobcats, we are joined today by good friend Clint Shields, voice of the Bobcats, another voice here to kind of talk us through Texas State this crazy season. GJ Kinney, another bowl appearance, just like a fresh day and over in your neck of the woods. Clint, how are you, and how are things at Texas State football?
Well, all good on my end, and all good certainly in the land of Bobcat football. You know, y'all talking about and the second annual, I think, postseason bowl preview show. So pleased to be on it in a first ever appearance. You know, for Texas State, it's been a long time coming for this fan base, and really just the season got off to a bang. Started with a bang with the win at Baylor, obviously. Who knew that Baylor would struggle the way that they did, but to go on the road and win that game. And I think it just it really energized the fan base, a promise of what could be with this team. It's had its ups and its downs. Any team does during the season, but certainly to go 7-5 and be assured of a spot in the postseason, it was really a neat way to watch that season unfold.
Hey, brother, Merry Christmas. Good seeing you again. And if you could tell the story of this Texas State season in 90 seconds, 2 minutes, tell us the ebbs and the flows, the ups and the downs, because we look at the numbers, we see one thing, but you're there tracking it game by game, and obviously with our profession, play by play. So what's the season been like in a nutshell?
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you as well. 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Gosh.
However long you want.
There's a lot of stuff you'd leave out in that amount of time. You know, we got together and we did a bowl preview, not a bowl preview, but a season preview show on the ESPN Plus side of things with Brant Freeman, a guy you know well, and sat down with him, Jeff Gandy, my analyst partner, and I. He kind of covers the defense. Jeff does his days as a Baylor Bear and later a Washington Redskin and Colt and Oiler. He handles the defensive side as a former linebacker. I kind of sat down. We talked offense. And one of the questions that Brant asked me was, what was I most excited about? I really felt like the explosive capability, the explosive potential for the Texas State offense this year, not just in one facet of it. It could be explosive on the ground. It could be explosive through the air, depending upon who was at quarterback. We didn't know at the time, we going to be TJ Finley or Malik Hornsby. Hornsby a little bit more of the threat with the legs than Finley was. In the end, it was Finley. And right away in that first game at Baylor, you could see that it was an offense with a guy like Ishmael Mahdi in the backfield, or even Calvin Hill, one of the returners. If they got loose, they could hurt you on the ground. And then with returners at the wide receiver spot like Ashton Hawkins, plus new guys like Cole Wilson, Joey Hobart, Drew Donnelly, they could hurt you through the air. And both of those things played out in that week one win at Baylor, and it was really exciting. That second week around the facility getting ready for game 2 with UTSA. Big rivalry game and a really tough defense, a good football team in UTSA. Probably saw them win their bowl game last night up in Frisco, as banged up as they were with a dynamic quarterback like Frank Harris. And so that was kind of one of those ebbs and flow within a football season. It all happened within a week because you go from the high of the win at Baylor to struggling in a 20-13 loss at UTSA. And, maybe in the minds of some fans, there was a little bit of doubt. Are we really as good as we showed last week, or was Baylor maybe not as good? And I think the answer was probably more of we were actually pretty good. And I think UTSA was pretty good. It was a really tight ball game. Defensively, Texas State got aggressive this year. They had good depth on the defensive line, ran bodies through a lot, which enabled them to get pressure in the backfield, create a lot of havoc, come up with a lot of tackles for loss. So it wound up being kind of an explosive mix on both sides of the ball. Texas State at times could give up the big play. Third down conversions were a bit of an Achilles heel on the defensive side. Third and longs especially happened way more often than you'd like to see in the course of a season. But at the same time, sacks, tackles for loss were both up. And so it was a case of being explosive and maybe at times getting burned a little bit. Offensively, we were going to move the ball, we felt like, every week. The offense had a chance to go, to the house on every play. You've got the really kind of the weird night in Jonesboro when we give up 77 to Arkansas State in a second half in which they scored, kicked off. We drove down and fumbled, and they ran it back 95 yards for a touchdown. Kicked off, we went down and scored. Kicked off, they ran the kickoff back for a touchdown. The next two possessions ended in pick sixes that we threw. So their offense didn't take the field for more than a quarter of clock time, and they put up 28 points. It was one of the weirdest, 17-minute game segments I've ever seen, when you realize we haven't even seen their offense for most of the second half, and they've outscored us 28-7. It was just one of those snowball effect games. Then you turn around the next week and you go out and you play really well in the finale against a South Alabama team that can play really, really good football, and you throw up more than 50 and you win. So it was a season of some ups and downs, some close calls that didn't go our way. A 1-point game in the fourth quarter with a Troy team that was really good. They got away. A lead at Louisiana, a place where the Bobcats have never played well against the Cajuns, all the way until the final 3 minutes when Louisiana was able to win. So it's one of those seasons that, two other games, and you're talking about a 9-3 season, and nobody would have predicted that before the season started. So from what I hear, ticket sales have been outstanding for the First Responder Bowl. Looking for a great crowd. I just kind of got the first glimpse of a week out weather forecast today. I think it's cool, but I think it's sunny. I don't think there's any rain involved, and I don't think it's 30 degrees, so it should be a really great day.
And you hit on something I was pretty curious about, because Rice now, each of the past 2 seasons, they've been bowling, but it's come down to literally the final weekend to figure out, hey, is this going to happen? We don't know. For Texas State, things got rolling, picked up win number 6 with a couple games to spare. What was it like being on this ride, going from a bunch of seasons, under Jake Spavital, where the wins aren't coming, to all of a sudden it becomes clear by October that y'all might have a chance to be playing in your first postseason game as an FBS program?
One of the guys who was really kind of the visible, figurehead of it all was university president Kelly Danfus, who came from Arkansas State a year ago. He said at the time, when Texas State gets to be bowl eligible, he would be the first one into the San Marcos River, which runs through campus post-game. And that didn't come to fruition. So this year, you get to the point where you're 5-3. We pick up the win over Georgia Southern, 45-24. And sure enough, there he is on that Saturday night after the ball game in a suit. Got a camera. I think he had a phone on a mount, held away from his body a little bit, but in his suit, goes into the river holding the phone. Followed by G.J. Kinney, several members of his coaching staff, several players, media members, cheerleaders, strutters. I mean, the dance team, everybody, the huge group of people jumped into the river and whatnot. And so suddenly the Bobcats are 6-3. And then you go to Coastal Carolina and lose a tough one, 31-23. Then that 77-31 bizarro world game happened in Jonesboro. Not to take anything away from the job Butch Jones did. It was so bizarre in the way that the scoring happened. And then to come back home and get the win over South Alabama. So you didn't want to go out with 3 in a row. on the losing side to wind up 6-6. That last game I felt was really, really important, not just for the team, but for the fan base to maintain that excitement that they'd had when they picked up that 6 win, get it back, get to 7-5. And then there was a lot of smoke about which bowl was going to be. The Frisco Bowl seemed to have a lot of traction for a while, but I think being in Texas and being an all Texas matchup, that's really only added to the excitement.
Hey, let's break down some of the offense. I'm going to pull up some of my charts here, and let's talk about offense as Coach Bloomgren gave the rightful propers to Finley at quarterback. I know Hornsby is, at least by looking at the paper, seems like more of the running guy. But start off with the big fella, big game experience, and obviously when you throw for over 3,000 yards like TJ Finley has, he's doing something really well here. So tell us about Finley, and obviously you mentioned Mahdi some there, but a lot of weapons on that offense too.
Yeah, and TJ, you know, he's really been fun to watch this year. You mentioned big game experience and big game environment. Started his career at LSU, then transferred to Auburn, and then transferred to Texas State. And he said the other day in the news conference, he will be playing in the bowl game, and then after that, he'll give more thought to his future. I believe he's got twins now. And so as to when I say his future, you know, is that staying at Texas State? Is that maybe thinking about the transfer portal? Is that maybe thinking about the NFL? You know, I can't answer those questions for him, but he is focused on playing in the bowl game and finishing this season because he understands what it means to this university and this program to qualify for its first ever bowl game and get a chance to play. And so I think he's looking forward to it. But he's one of those guys, you know, you hear it said a lot, quarterback, he can make all the throws. He really can. We watched him before the season even started and talking with some guys on the sideline who've been around Texas State football a while. We watched a couple of all kind of deep seam route throws that he stepped into and really fired one down the seam. And a guy turned to me and looked at me and he said, you know, if we can make that throw, we'll win 10 games this year, because that's a throw we have not been able to make in the 5 years that I've been here for sure. And that is a throw he can make. He can make every throw. It's running's not a strong suit. When he is moving forward with his size at 6'7", you know, he's covering about 6 feet of stride. So when he's moving forward, he's actually moving pretty fast. You know, it may not look like he's moving that fast, but he's hard to bring down. That's been another thing. I've gotten caught at least twice this year in assuming that he was sacked and going down, and he wasn't. And he wound up flipping the ball out for, a positive gain. One of the weirdest plays you'll ever see happen at Southern Mississippi. We had the lead second half, and he's for all rights, he's lost in a pile of people, offensive and defensive linemen, both at our own 2-yard line. And I'm certain that he's sacked. The question is, can he get out of the end zone and avoid the safety? All of a sudden, Ishmael Mahdi comes out of the pile, and he's got the ball. And when you see it from a reverse angle, which I couldn't see, he actually flipped it to Mahdi with his left hand because they couldn't get him down. Mahdi goes 97 of 98 yards and then got caught from behind, and the ball got punched out, went through the end zone, and Southern Miss wound up with a turnover and the ball at the 20. You'll never see that play again. And it was not the only time that I saw had a play this year where I thought he was down and called him down, and he wound up not being sacked. So he's able to extend plays sometimes just because he's hard to bring down. Hornsby, you mentioned when he's in the ballgame, he's such a threat to run because he's a different style of quarterback. I think he's got your true RPO, your dual threat guy, where if you don't account for him in the run game, you're liable to miss him and then be chasing him off into the night real quick. Ishmael Mahdi, big surprise. We really didn't know what to expect out of him. We were supposed to see him last year when Texas State played Houston Christian, and he didn't play in the game. We didn't know about it before kickoff, but he didn't play because of a foot injury, so we'd never actually seen him before. You know, then he busts out with a 50-plus yard touchdown run against Baylor, and the rest was kind of history. Returns kicks. He's picked up all kinds of postseason awards, including All-American honors from Phil Steele and ESPN and others, and really deserving, and a really great, humble kid to talk to off the field as well. Receiver-wise, I mentioned Ashton Hawkins, a returner. He's, set a career high of 165 yards in that loss at Arkansas State. He's moved into the top spot as far as being the FBS era leader in total receiving yards for Texas State in his 2 years. Cole Wilson, an addition from Incarnate Word that came along with head coach G.J. Kinney, is kind of like another Ashton Hawkins. The two of them together on the field really create some matchup problems because of their ability to change directions, extreme quickness and speed to go along with good hands. Joey Hobart, they call him Joe Dirt because as his teammate on the defensive side, Sean Holton, said he runs dirty routes, catches just about everything thrown his way. So they've been big additions. There's a freshman kid out there as well, Chris Dawn Jr., whose emergence in the latter part of the season. He's really gotten a lot of good reps and is a good addition. I don't think you're going to see Sean Shaw in the bowl game. He may opt out from what I'm hearing. He's a wide receiver, can also play at the tight end spot where Connor Fox has had the starting job most of the year, transfer from Kansas State, battled some foot injuries earlier in the year, but he along with Titus Lyons have been a pretty good 1-2 punch at that tight end spot. Then Sean Shaw, kind of depending upon down and distance, can come in and maybe give you a little bit more of a vertical threat. So may or may not see him in the bowl game. Not sure. Running back, should mention Denario Davenport. Really done a nice job of spelling Ishmael Mahdi. Jamel Jeter, who's been around the program for 4 years now, originally transferred from Oklahoma State. Jeet's like 2 yards shy of 1,000 for his career. We were sure he'd get it in that last ball game against South Alabama because he has a tendency to come in as the short yardage guy, and he scores a lot of touchdowns. Well, the only touch he got that night went for 1 yard and a touchdown. We were sure we'd see him again before the night was over, but we didn't. So he's another guy with good experience in that backfield and kind of gives you that short yardage back and is a good compliment to Mahdi. Up front, we'll just jump straight into the offensive line. Whole lot of transfers there as well. I think 5 guys came from Incarnate Word. One of the pluses of that, in addition to their ability to play, is their familiarity with the offense, their familiarity with the offensive staff, and the staff's familiarity with those guys. Their coaching style, what they expect from their players, and et cetera. Bray Walker is a transfer from Oklahoma at that right guard spot, who's been really solid. He's been in and out a little bit in the latter part of the season with a foot injury, but he was back. And really, with the return of Nash Jones, number 76 over at left tackle, he went out in that UTSA game, second game of the year, with a foot injury. When he got back at the end of the year, it was the first time since that second game that the entire offensive line, as it started the season, had been back on the field. So it got a little bit of that depth back. And, obviously you go into bowl season, you got a couple, 3 weeks once you find out, maybe where you're playing to hopefully get healthy and go out and play well, one last time with a fully healthy group.
Man, I feel like I got the PhD in the rundown of the Texas State offense. Well, it is so interesting to me because when I look at this team on paper, I see a team that's going to score, what was the final number, 110 points a game or something like that, or at least it feels like it. How has it been kind of watching this team come together? Because, if you're playing this many possessions, obviously the defense is going to be on the field a lot. I guess as we kind of transition over, is the defense kind of better than their numbers? They just kind of have to run nonstop like the offense, or how have you kind of seen this play out on the other side of the ball?
One of the things that's kind of sneaky I felt like about the Texas State offense is, in addition to that ability to score, in a big play strike capability, if they don't, they move quickly, but they'll run a lot of plays, and you'll look up and it'll be a 6-minute drive, and they've run 14 plays. So that has kind of surprised me a little bit. The success that they've had has not always been 20 yards at a time, or suddenly somebody rips off 60 yards and gets a touchdown. Yes, that happens, but they've run a lot of plays and tend to run a lot of clock. And that's something that, like I said, surprised me as the season went on as to how many times you'd look down and the scoring drive would be 5 minutes plus. So to your point, talking about the defense, yes, there's times that, they're back on the field, but really that's probably happened more if Texas State had to go like a 3 and out or a 4 and out, and the defense found themselves back on the field, because they do manage to run the clock. They may move fast, but the clock has continued to move. The time of possession has been a thing that surprised me also.
So who are the big playmakers on that defensive side, Glenn?
Defensively, you know, it's led in my mind at the linebacker spot. Brian Holloway, returner, a transfer from SMU, has had a big year. 98 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 16 tackles for loss. This is a defense that I mentioned they've really kind of it's been a feast or famine at times. Big play, get you behind the chains, giving up some third down conversions that allowed drives to continue, or been hurt by the big play here and there, but. You know, scoring wise, they're 6th in the conference in allowing points per game. Rushing yardage wise, they're that number's backwards. Passing wise, 264. They're 7th in the conference. Total yards, they're 9th in the conference. They've been kind of middle of the pack if you look at the overall numbers. Sacks, they're 7th with 25. Tackles for loss has really been where they've been kind of made their bread and butter all year in terms of disrupting people. They've been a top 10 defense in FBS numbers in terms of tackles for loss all season. Starts with Brian Holloway for me, and Ben Bell, a returner from last year whose brother Levi who was on the squad last year as well, is with the Seattle Seahawks now. And Bell, 13 tackles for loss this year. 49 tackles. He kind of rotates in and out at sort of an outside rush linebacker spot. Like I said, they've added a lot of transfers. Obviously, if you've followed college football this year, you know Texas State's added a lot of transfers from last year. They added some depth on that front line, and it's allowed them to, you know, sub in either 2 interiors at a time, or at times swap out all 4, the 2 interiors and the 4 on the exterior. So Ben Bell and Brian Holloway have really kind of spearheaded that from the linebacker, and then that outside linebacker spot for Ben Bell. Dominic Ratcliffe and Terry Webb have typically started at the interior. And Tavian Coleman, who's a transfer from Utah State, 7.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. He's a guy who, throughout the course of the season, has really found himself in the backfield a lot. Tavian's a really super guy to talk to off the field as well, but has really played well. Originally a Texas kid who transferred back home, and that's been something that GJ Kinney and staff have really focused on in their first year, is hitting Texas recruiting hard. The high school ranks, yes, but when they've gone out into the portal, they've tried to go out and find Texas kids and bring them back home. Maybe went to out-of-state programs, but it give them a chance to come back home and play a little bit more in front of the home crowd.
And when you kind of sit through, now that we've looked at roster stuff, when you kind of look through big picture coming to this game, is there 1 or 2 things that you've kind of keyed in, and especially focusing on the game against Rice, that you think if Texas State can do this, then they're going to have a good chance to win? What's kind of their secret sauce, you think?
You know, starting fast. And it's funny, if you look at it, it's kind of the same for both. Starting fast, Texas State, I don't have the number right in front of me, but I think 8 of its last 9 games scored on its first possession, and 7 of those were touchdowns on the first possession of the game. So starting fast, Texas State's outscored opponents 134-73 in the first quarter. On the flip side, Rice has outscored opponents 121-47 in the first quarter. Both teams seem to be able to start fast. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You know, if everybody throws up 14 in the first quarter, I don't know where we're going to go after that. Texas State's maybe struggled a little bit in quarters 3 and 4 on the season, but that first quarter's been so strong, and the second quarter has as well. But that starting fast has really been something that Texas State's done really well all year. And I think on the other side, defensively, you know, if you're asking me to kind of coach speak it a little bit, you got to make Rice earn it. You know, you can't give up the big play. When you get to third downs, you're going to have to find a way to get yourself off the field. And as I said, that's been an area that at times has hurt the Bobcats a little bit this year. So what can you do to help yourself get off the field? Can you get yourself turnovers? Can you get the third down stops and get the Rice offense back on the field? Defensively, that's where it's got to start for Texas State. Offensively, do what you do. Like I said, they have the capability, whether it's on the ground or whether it's throwing it through the air, to come up with chunk plays, if not score on any play. But at the same time, drive the football, which is what they've done all year. Is, you know, you're talking about an offense for Texas State that's at, averaging total yards wise, 470 yards, first in the conference, 10th in the country. So even in losses, they really haven't slowed down. So they're going to do what they do. I think they're going to get their yards, they're going to get points. And typically when it comes to bowl games, that's what you see anyway. So.
Hey, brother, man, thanks so much. Look forward to catching up. Now get back to work, man. You're not working enough out there.
Yeah, I know. A little break right here. Finish my lunch and get back at it.
Hey, look forward to catching up. Safe travels. Yeah, I echo what you said. Love having an in-state opponent, and we'll be seeing you soon, brother. Merry Christmas, and thanks for joining us here.
Absolutely, JP Matthew. Always good to be with you.
You're the man. Thank you very much. The great Clint Shields joining us. Wow. If you're not prepared now, Matthew, that's shame on you.
I'm ready. We got to wait a whole nother week?
Yeah, we need to talk to him about that scheduling.
Who scheduled these things?
Starts with an E, ends with an N. Espen, yeah. But we're grateful. We're grateful. Get some good national exposure there.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I was reading. We got a note from SID, Mr. Chuck Poole. This is going to tie the amount of games that Rice has had on linear TV in like the past 10 years or something. 8 games on an ESPN network. I was talking with some folks yesterday. No Facebook this year. It's all looking up, man.
Yeah, just no Facebook. We do have the Facebook in the booth stream, but I know that's not what you're getting at.
Well, that I appreciate that. If I don't got to log on Facebook to watch my football though.
Yeah, it's amazing. Wherever you want to steer this thing, the rest of we can go as long as we want, obviously, but I feel like I know a lot more about Texas State now after talking with Clint there than I did before. So where you want to steer this the rest of the way, because there's it's a weird sequencing with the way we have the show. Usually we're out of our normal game week rhythm, which is fine. Obviously, great holiday coming up. But what do you want to talk about next? You're driving here.
Well, I want to end kind of a couple big picture things as we kind of close out. We're looking at it's signing day, and an oddity in today's world. I've been talking with some folks at Texas State. Looks like they might have one guy maybe of note that could have played. Potentially opting out. Rice with 0 opt-outs. How surreal is it to get to cover a postseason game and you can build Bordy and you have a good idea of who's playing? 2 programs that don't have hardly anybody in the portal.
Yeah, it's definitely an oddity. It's an expectation these days, unfortunately, that you're going to lose some. The Owls didn't lose anybody so far that's played this season, and it speaks to what they're building at Rice, thinking of it selfishly. And like Clint said, I mean, you're winning. You're part of an historical run like that. You want to be a part of it. Like he talked about Finley, and goodness, with twin children now, he's going to be thinking about his future. But there's a lot of pride. And you go back to what Coach Bloom told us, I guess that's yesterday now. It still seems like a while ago in the presser, saying, this means so much to the growth of the program, and you've seen that steady build. People want to be a part of that. And like I think you brought up with Josh Piercy when he was at the podium, the other JP, as I like to playfully call him, he was here when it was not good at all. And they've built that up, and they want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of what they're doing at Texas State. So you've got 2 very infectious head coaches, and they're building things in the right direction.
I did have one more thing written down I want to ask you about. An oddity, something else in the realm of bowl games that I don't know if I've seen happen before, but the head coach, I guess former head coach of Rice football, Mr. David Bailiff, that you got to know pretty well during y'all's time crossing over, is now employed as, I guess, as a title of special assistant to the head coach at Texas State. Have you caught up with him at all? What's it going to be like getting to see a familiar face maybe next week?
It warms me up inside, and I should have asked Clint about that too. Shame on me. But I think when we had the anniversary a few weeks ago, the 10-year anniversary of winning the conference championship, thought about him and haven't reached out to him before this one. I did talk to him on the phone a while during that Hall of Fame week when they were recognized on the field, or I guess earlier in the season, not the Hall of Fame week. But it can't be underscored how special that moment is in Rice athletics history, not just Rice football history, what he was able to do. And the guys from that team, I know, think they probably savor it more now than they did back then because of what he meant personally to them. He was one, a tremendous human being, and then a great football coach. He won, the line is, I think I've said it on this program, he won a conference championship at Rice, and everything clicked that season. But by no means saying they were lucky, but he got them pointed in that right direction and proving that it can be done, and that should be the aspiration at Rice. So yeah, I don't think more highly of coaches than I do what Coach Bailiff did at Rice, and just being a special human being, and then fantastic football coach. He should go down in the memory of Rice athletics forever for giving them that conference championship 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been fun to kind of hear stories and kind of reminisce there, and just kind of the crossover, because Bailiff went to back-to-back bowl games. Bloomgren has now done that. Jess Neely is the only other coach in the 110-year history of Rice football that has accomplished that feat. Of course, there hasn't been, 42 bowl games for that entire length. So it is what it is. But that's a very short list. So to have two of the three in the building this weekend is going to be pretty special.
Hey, can I ask you one thing as I'll take the wheel back? And you'll probably get into this. But I know coming in January, February, I guess it is, you're the signing day guy. Well, we might have another show that is specifically devoted to the signing class. What were your initial thoughts? I mean, I was going over the list going, okay, I'm impressed just seeing the class. What were your takes, and did it line up with what you expected? Because you follow this one 365 days a year. So what were your impressions of the first signing class here?
We could have a whole nother show on this.
Exactly.
Succinctly, I'll say throw out whatever the 247 recruiting rankings say for the rankings of this class. And I love the guys over at 247 and what they do, but Rice signed 8 high school seniors. So the way that those metrics are calculated, they are cumulative. And when you don't lose any players on your roster, which Rice has not, you only have so many spots left. So Rice is being rated on the rankings bit. Their 8 high school signees are being compared against, I think I saw North Texas has like 38 commits or something like that. So yeah, those aren't the same. So if you go looking at pure ratings numbers, their high school commits, highest rated signing class in program history. If you look just by quality of player, average commit. So that's really nice on the high school level. And then you go look at the transfers that they come in, headlined by EJ Warner. He led so first off, JT Daniels led the American in passing when he was healthy. By the time he'd gotten hurt, he was passed up, and EJ Warner finished up and led the American in passing. This is son of, Hall of Fame NFL MVP Kurt Warner. So got more good bloodlines there.
From Temple, right?
From Temple. Yeah. Buried the lead there. Going from one owl to the better owls. Rice currently owns the Owl Cup. They did beat FAU at the end of last year. So
that's right.
Making an owl improvement. So yeah, they didn't really have many needs. We'll see how things break down with who ends up coming back for an extra year and who doesn't. But roster looks really good. They were able to be choosy and to land a guy like EJ Warner, who I was having a conversation with somebody when the portal opened, and I saw him go on, and I said, Rice has to take a swing at these portal quarterbacks just to see who's out there. I love AJ, I love Chase, but you got to take a shot if it's there. He was the top guy on my list. I said, you're not going to go get DJ Ukulele, and you're not going to go get, whoever, Dylan Gabriel, like those guys probably aren't landing at Rice. Who's somebody that is uber talented that might fit here? He was my number one guy. And
okay,
when I heard that he was coming, I said, sign me up. couple 3,000-yard seasons, he's going to light them on fire on South Main. It's a good day, JP.
Yeah, I can't wait. You know me, for those that don't remember, we've said it in the past. I defer to Matthew and all the recruiting, and they show up on a depth chart, and come summer camp, I'm hey, Matthew, what's anything you want to tuck in about this game here?
I just was going down my computer, of course, has been shorting out and messing me up, so I can't pull anything up right now.
Obviously, that's good timing.
Obviously, but the talk about the potential, if Rice were to win this game, and I go listen to the press conference from yesterday to hear Mike Bloomgren's thoughts on whether or not this is, air quotes, a pointless game. It's not for this team and the staff. Rice wins this game, they will have their 7th season since 2000 with 7 or more wins. So a winning year. It's hard to win games at Rice. You talked about David Bailiff winning a conference championship. It's hard to win at Rice. To go over 500 this season with the adversity they faced at the quarterback position would be big. So that's just my one little nugget to dangle. I know Texas State wants their first bowl win, but Rice, man, it would be sweet to get to 7. You got anything that we need to get in before we go?
Well, and Clint, I mean, he is such a cool guy. He's got a great backstory too. If we were doing just the Clint Shields show and not Texas State football, he's a working man, and then does this broadcasting thing on the side, and he does it really well for Texas State. But he brought to mind, it's weird to have a big quarterback like that, big not only in the numbers but just in physique. Finley, Owls haven't seen a guy like that. And how do they respond to a guy that, and they've seen some great quarterbacks this year, but
Donovan Smith with Houston, probably the closest comp.
Yeah, exactly.
He was more of a runner, and I don't think Finley's going to run as much. That'll probably bode better for the Owls, actually.
Yeah, I think so. And with the way they did this year against tempo, they will like to play faster. I don't see how it's football physics possible to play as fast as USF did. So you can't play faster than what they did. And obviously U of H tries some tempo, and a couple other teams too. So they've got the experience against the tempo. But it's the starts, and great minds think alike. Scary for one of us, Clint and I were thinking alike. You mentioned that stats. The first thing I've started really more this season looking at, okay, those early starts. Rice is a team that is suited better when they can get that early lead and be chased. Not a lot of victories this year coming from behind when you get down by those 2 touchdowns early. So I think a lot, and what I'll elaborate on what he said is they're also a great second quarter team. So they're not just hitting their stride in the first quarter and then coming back in the second quarter and kind of laying off. And you see a lot of teams come out strong in the third quarter after some adjustments. No, they are rip-roaring first and second. So they're a high variance team too. He mentioned some of that. They've given up 77, but they've scored 77. So one, I don't know what to expect in that regard. But two, I think getting that early start and kind of settling A.J. Padgett in will be a great formula to start things here.
Buckle up. It should be a fun one.
Buckle up. And we might have more shenanigans to tell. You might be joining us on the road trip, I understand.
Yeah, put us on the fun bus. Let's go. How many can we fit in?
Well, it's pretty much the Nate, like I've said this on the broadcast, the one purpose is just to get Nate to the game. Get the TV star.
We're all here for Nate.
And
Nate, I hope you tune in and hear this.
And I love him to death, but that's pretty much what it is. We got to get Hollywood in his rightful color seat and make sure he's all good. And we're just the common working guys here. We defer to the beauty that is Nate Griffin.
Looking forward to seeing you, Nate. Looking forward to seeing all of y'all at the game day after Christmas. Drive up, pack some Christmas ham, whatever you eat in the car on your way up. Make a little sandwich. Come watch some Rice football, a bowl win, and then we'll be on to the offseason, man. One thing at a time. I'm going to soak it up as long as we got it.
Can't wait, man.
We'll be back. It'll be baseball season. We'll be in the booth. We'll figure it out. One day at a time. That's all we got this year. But this officially concludes the 2023 slate of Blue and Gray preview shows. We'll be back at some point down the road to talk something Rice Athletics. Thank you for all tuning in. Hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of the other nice things. Wonderful wishings to you and your family. Did I hit it all, JP?
You did. You're a pro. 13th show. We finally got it down. You know what we're doing here.
We'll get there. The first 12, we'll see. Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate you guys. We will see you next time. Rice Fight.
Never dies, baby. Never dies. We're going to Dallas. Ford Stadium in Dallas. Dallas.